Hey folks, today I want to show you a way of connecting the mini Theremin kit that you can get from ThinkGeek to a Moog Werkstatt, which is a really fun synthesizer kit as well. The mini Theremin is a device which outputs a square pulse wave, and it works just like a normal theremin in that your body's capacitance alters the frequency and you can create music. So let me demonstrate that for you. It also comes with these this trimming screwdriver, and there are some trim pots here in the front, and that allows you to alter the frequency range that you're working in. So you can see it has a pretty good range, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we can modify and how we can modify the sound that we create with our Werkstatt and create some textured music. If we take a look at the circuit diagram, you can see that the antenna is the capacitor, which is coupled to this inductor. That's forming an LC resonance circuit, which is causing some oscillations. These trim potentiometers here are labeled volume, but when you adjust them on the theremin, they actually alter the frequency range that you're working in. Also, they seem to create some kind of situation where occasionally, as you bring your hand closer to the antenna, frequency goes up, but then you can adjust them, and as you bring your hand closer, the frequency goes down. So I'm not totally sure what's going on there, but you can see in the circuit diagram that those come here to this IC amp, which is actually a 386 audio op amp. And then the output of that is coupled through a capacitor to a speaker. And the speaker is just a standard 8 ohm coil speaker. So what we're going to do is we add a switched mono phone jack in parallel to the speaker, so that if nothing's plugged into the jack, you can hear all the audio through the speaker, but once you plug something in, that switches off the speaker and all of the signal is sent through the phone jack. Now, this booklet also comes with some suggestions of ways you can modify it. Like I just mentioned, putting a switched phone jack in parallel with the speaker here, that's what I've done. And others include this extended antenna. And it looks like here what they're suggesting you do is you take some light dependent resistors and you set them up sort of in series with your phone jack, and maybe you can alter the volume that way. Not totally sure, but goes on, and here they're suggesting you use two different kits and some kind of a mixer to connect the two of them, various potentiometers, and build yourself a full-size theremin complete with tweaking and adjustment knobs and a nice wooden enclosure. So let's get started with our phone jack hack and take a look at the signal on the oscilloscope. Alright, so I've got a mono phone jack plugged in here, which is sent to a probe on my oscilloscope, and you can see the output signal, and as I bring my hand closer to the antenna, I'm altering the capacitance of that LC circuit and changing the frequency. As I described before, sometimes you can get a situation where the frequency goes up as you bring your hand closer, and other times you get a situation where the frequency goes down. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that, but it may have something to do with the fact that what we're hearing is the difference in the frequencies of the two oscillators. I'll have to look into that further. One thing to note though is that it's definitely a square pulse wave. And if we look at the voltage difference on these on here, you can see that it's almost 5 volts. So it might be kind of fun to use that almost as a logic clock signal, but that might be a different experiment. Today what we're going to do is just plug this signal directly into the inputs on our Moog Werkstatt and see how we can alter the frequency and sort of add to the musical texture of this instrument. An important thing you'll need to do in order to work with the Werkstatt is you need to get a ground from the Werkstatt, because these are only one part of the voltage. So you take off the top, and there are these various screws inside which hold the circuit board down, and these are tinned, and you can actually get a ground tap off one of these, and that's what I've done. You can see this black wire here connects through to this screw, and this is actually what the Werkstatt website recommends you do, and conveniently there's a hole in the side of the case for you to send the wire through. And then that just goes into your prototyping board, and you can connect any ground to it from there. I'm not sure if you're too familiar with a Werkstatt, but the Moog Synthesiser comes with two oscillators. One's an LFO, one's a voltage-controlled oscillator for the main tone you hear. Various kinds of filters and all sorts of other kinds of modifications. And this main thing where you can plug in, repatch the whole synthesizer through various outputs and inputs. But what we're going to do is we're going to take the output of this theremin and put it in the voltage controlled oscillator input here. But we're going to go through a 10K potentiometer and use this as a voltage divider. So the center wiper of this potentiometer is this brown wire, and that will be a divided voltage output from the main output of this theremin. So let's go for it. We can hear the sound. We'll plug in our, alright, that goes away. Now we'll plug this into our, let's see it here first. Plug it back in again. It's pretty cool. Oh, see, that's a different voltage controlled input. Let's hear what it sounds like in our filter.